Hello, a very warm welcome to the brand new edition of Policy Watch. I'm Kriti Mishra. Today we'll take a closer look at the National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber-Physical Systems. The mission is being implemented by the Department of Science and Technology at a total outlay of 3,660 crore rupees for a period of 5 years. This is a comprehensive mission which would address technology development, application development, human resource development, entrepreneurship and startup development in cyber-physical systems and associated technologies. 15 technology innovation hubs, 6 application innovation hubs, and 4 technology translation research hubs would be set up under the mission. And for more on this, I'm joined by Dr. K.R. Murli Mohan. He's the mission director and he's joining us through Skype from Chennai. In the studio, I have Mr. Subimal Bhattacharjee, cyber policy expert, and Mr. Manish Sharma, consultant, IDSA. Welcome to Rajya Television, all of you. Dr. Mohan, before we get into the specifics and nitty-gritties of this mission, please demystify the concept of cyber-physical systems for our viewers.
Well, the cyber-physical system refers to the interacting with the physical entities in the cyberspace. So how do you interact with the physical systems? For example, if you take energy grids, transport sector, agriculture, health, these are all the physical, entities normally the governments would like to implement on the ground. When you would like to extend these services to the entire population, then we need to bring the technology. Those technology normally refers to the cyberspace. So the interacting with the physical systems in the cyberspace is what is referred as the cyber-physical systems. Now, what are the technologies in the cyberspace? In fact, the information communication technology, entire gamut of artificial intelligence, the sensors, the activators, the data science, the quantum technologies, these are all the foundational technologies which contributes in realizing the cyber physical system, because CPS always at the systems level. So this is what generally the CPS refer to. Okay, yeah.
Also, Dr. Mohan, it is said that future of science would be dictated by these associated technologies and connection between cyber and physical systems. Please take us through the salient features of this mission.
Yeah, well, now this mission is recently approved by the Union Cabinet, and we are in a position to initiate the mission maybe in the next month itself. Now, what this mission all about? Now, fundamentally, we are looking at creating a layer between what you call academics, industry, and the government. These are the three helix has to come together in developing those technologies. Now, as of now, the academic or the research community is one helix, and then connecting to the industry is another issue. Now, the government is the third helix. Now, there is no proven model to bring them together as of now. Now, this mission fundamentally would like to create this particular vacuum, and by creating, as you mentioned rightly, the 25 innovation hubs across the country. Now, that is the layer which is going to work as a cushion between the three helix. That's number one. And number two, we would like to address the entire gamut of the technology development. So from taking the research to the product, the entire pipeline, that research, the prototype development, the technology translation, and then connecting to the industry in finally bringing out a product. That is one segment of the mission. The second segment is the human resources and skill enhancement. These are the futuristic technologies. We have to prepare our young generations, know what type of jobs are going to be created, what type of new technologies that is going to change our entire country. So therefore, there is every requirement to enhance and inculcate the technology adoption at the undergraduate, postgraduate, as well as other levels. Of course, the third aspect, as you rightly told, the translational of the research. Now, the research community, they do a lot of research. In fact, we are number third in the world in terms of number of publications. In terms of products, we are not that many. So therefore, there is a gap. So how to fill this gap? Therefore, we need to bring in what you call the translational research. This mission is trying to do and address that particular segment, what you call the startup and entrepreneurship development. Therefore, the research, the translation, and the startup, the entire thing will be one of the core segment which will be taken up by these innovation hubs. Now, when you say about the international collaboration is also required because some of the technologies are worldwide being developed, and we need not reinvent the wheel. Therefore, we have to depend on other emerging technologies, and we have to augment further and rapidly develop the immediate the technology so that we can roll out the products as per the requirements of the both government and as well as the industry. These are the broad segments this mission is trying to implement through these innovation hubs. Yeah.
Right, sir. So the focus has to be on futuristic technologies. But talking about the importance of this mission, Mr. Bhattacharjee, the National Science Foundation in USA recognized the importance of CPS back in 2003. India has made substantial progress and strides in the cyberspace. How important is this mission for the progression of our country?
I think this is a absolutely very important aspect of how you develop the whole cyber ecosystem in the country. Well, we might be late, but I don't think we are too late. We have a lot of talent in the country in this area. Now, how we channelize them, I was listening to Dr. Mohan very carefully, and I was always reminded of how DRDO functioned in many areas of research, where the whole aspect of academia, industry, and the whole DRDO entity, if you look at, it's not been a very successful story. How much of the technology that DRDO has done has actually been lifted by the industry, and how much of them have a real efficacy on the ground. So here, the most important thing would be how do you implement the whole program. You have a huge budget of 3,660 crores and to be spent in a span of just 5 years. So the pace at which technology is progressing, the pace at which artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, all of these are getting into a lot of the devices and systems and directly impacting human lives today, need proper research, need a proper channelized way in which they are finally brought to the common man. A lot of that has to reside in the country. We cannot be looking at others. Obviously, the US has been one of the forefront in this cyber technology area, and we have had a lot of struggles even dealing on the technology front on the defense space with them. It's a different fact that things have improved in the last 10 years, but nobody is going to give us everything on a platter. We have something called the Defense Trade and Technology Initiative with the US, in which 6 programs were identified, but still we are seeing that we are not able to take it to a level where production and everything also happens indigenously. So I think there is a lot of consideration that has to come in, where the 3 sectors, the academia, the industry, and the government areas have to work in very close tandem so that the money is optimally spent. The timing is right. You don't have delayed anymore. You are a nation that is looking at the cyberspace with a lot of aspirations. You have a huge quality talent pool of engineers available in the country. Many of them are still jobless. So if all of this channelize into a real national picture, I think it's really going to benefit the country.
So there has to be synergy between all the elements. But
Absolutely.
One of the biggest concerns that we talk about, Mr. Munish Sharma, is that of the challenges that cyber physical systems could pose to our demographic dividend. What are those challenges and how do we address them?
I think when we speak of technology, we should always look it into a national perspective. So a use case, for example, which is applicable for say US or UK might not be as it is importable or as it is complementary with the use case in India. So first of all, national requirements, regional requirements, and as I said, demography, rightly said, because things like a driverless car, which is a classical implementation of artificial intelligence as we speak, So when we speak of driverless cars, we speak of those countries where automation has gone a step ahead, where everything is like properly road signs or everything is like properly followed as compared to developing countries, for example, like
No
India.
traffic chaos.
Yeah, precisely. And when we speak of these use cases, we certainly have to look at how do we employ our demographics, how do we employ our people. So technology certainly is going to alter the way we employ people. Technology is going to kind of next down a lot of jobs which right now are prevalent in our cases. So eventually people will go up the value chain. Some people might lose jobs. A lot of people might gain jobs. It could be other way around. A lot of people might lose jobs. Few people might get jobs. So the job market, I would say, next 5 or 10 years will transform significantly as we speak of artificial intelligence, big data, Internet of Things, whatever in this space. So demographics certainly plays a very important role here. How do you convert your demography into a demographic dividend in this case? And as Dr. Murli and Dr. Subimal also said that we have to make sure that whatever resources, whatever human resources we have to look for optimal usage, whether they are into research, whether they are into startups, whether they're into entrepreneurship or anywhere. So the whole idea of this mission, in my understanding, is to collate all these national resources, looking at India-specific requirements, and build up an ecosystem where researchers do their job. It feeds up into a startup or innovation ecosystem, which actually helps a lot of ideas to see the daylight, like as compared to what used to happen earlier. A lot of ideas would die in laboratory. So the whole idea of this mission, I think, is to transpose those really brilliant ideas all the way from a laboratory workbench into a product.
Probably Dr. Mohan can enlighten us on that. Dr. Mohan, Manish just mentioned that technology will alter the way we employ people. How do we get ready for those challenges?
Yeah, it's a big question. Now, see, one you asked about the demographic dividend, and another one is you are talking about the challenge, how you can address it. Now, well, you see, these technologies are going to change entirely, how you manufacture, how you travel, how you are going to interact. Entire gamut of human activities are going to be affected by these technologies. Now, all the same time, it is also the traditional jobs is going to out of the market, and new types of jobs are going to be created. Now, there is an opportunity for us because we have the huge human capacity here in this country. Now, by inculcating good training and skill enhancement and then the development of new technologies, there is an opportunity. And converting into a startup company, we can enhance our job market also. So we are looking at as an opportunity of these technological challenges. Okay, now how we have to do it? I mean, still we are working on the various models, and we are sure that we will come out with a good implementation model. As I told, these 25 technological innovation hubs is the new model, which is we are banking heavily on this. Now here, how to bring these three helix is a big challenge. The industry is also going to be the partner of this particular the hubs right from the beginning. And another aspect is there is a full delegation of powers. This not never happens in governmental systems. Here, this mission has been given full delegation of powers, empowering these technology innovation hubs to act independently. In fact, our Secretary Professor Ashutosh Sharma used to mention that these innovation hubs are going to be an independent type of a mini ministries. That means they can recruit the people, they can give the projects to the industry or to the other academic institutes, develop the technology, rapidly prototype it, and go the entire the chain of the product development and to meet the requirements of both government and the industry. Therefore, we are hoping a good model will emerge, and then we are expecting a success for our mission. Intentions are good and commitments are there. Let us see how far now best we can reach.
Absolutely. So dynamism is going to be the key. But Mr. Bhattacharjee, Dr. Mohan just mentioned about skilling our workforce. How do we skill our workforce in associated technologies like he mentioned, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, analytics? How do we do that?
I think one of the pillars, as Dr. Mohan mentioned, is academia. So how do we make those academic institutions focus on these areas where there is a requirement, in all these areas of technology. Now, most of the institutions are picking up the courses that cater to all these emerging areas, and by far we haven't really fared well, because if you see the placement in most of the private sector has been good for all these fellows. Now, the challenge would be that how are you going to get the best to be involved as part of this whole ecosystem that you are trying to build up. You have to pay up salaries of those levels, you have to provide those benefits. Most of the IT companies and all work in an atmosphere where right from waking up to sleeping, an engineer or a techie is taken care of. So now this kind of a culture and an imbibation into the way all our research institutions or academic institutions have functioned, that has to be really thought about, because ultimately you would need the best to remain abreast of the others and be able to deliver it to your people. So personally I feel that the academic community really has to be oriented beyond the IITs and the NITs. Where are we going to? There has been a mushrooming of engineering institutions and colleges across the country, but are they really providing quality teaching or the lab facilities and all, or how do you make them into dividends rather than just money making enterprises? So I think that has to be really factored in, and I would think committees under quality people like Dr. Mohan should really emphasize on this to make these academic institutions relevant and not produce graduates who are just time passing.
Right. Mr. Sharma, how do we ensure synergy between industry and academia?
I think we have a lot of initiatives, not just in this specific domain, but otherwise also something what we call as public-private partnership, where you make private sector equally responsible, whether it's in terms of investment or in terms of building human resources or any other thing. I think our foremost challenge has been to glue these things together, where you have a model where private sector and public sector can work towards a specific mission. This particular idea what has come off in this phase of national mission, I think we'll have to look at where we have lagged as compared to finding a new model altogether, and I think it's the right time we should look beyond IITs and TIFR or maybe beyond IISc, because these institutions, although they hold a lot of intellectual capacity, or I would say a lot of research depth as such, but unless until we diversify, we move beyond that model, we try and experiment with things like having some private universities, for example, being on board, letting them train a lot of workforce, which these IITs or IIMs, or I would say a few of these institutions of eminence cannot provide put together. So one aspect is skilling these people, and then second aspect is obviously letting private sector play its role, which is about building those products, building those services. So private sector has to mature, I would say, in this case. The government cannot do everything. Government can facilitate. For example, if you look at the cases of STPI, Software Technology Parks of India, government did its bit. Government can give tax breaks, government can establish such missions with a dedicated mandate. But beyond that, academia, private sector have to actually go up the value chain and then start producing results, which I would say have not been happening in our country as of now.
Right, so the government has to be the facilitator, exactly, and the private players, they have to play an active role. But since we're talking about emerging technologies, I'll take that to Dr. Mohan. Dr. Mohan, how can India adapt to emerging and disruptive technologies to remain competitive in the international arena?
Well, taking the cue from the earlier speaker, so I would like to bring some 2-3 points here. Now, when the mission is referring to 25 hubs, in fact, we are looking at the academic institutes as the focal points to create these hubs. We are not telling that it is only in IITs or IISc. Wherever the expertise is available, wherever the type of ecosystem is available, these hubs will be created. That's number one. Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
So number two is, these we are planning to create.
We'll just fix that audio, but I'll take that to Mr. Bhattacharjee. Mr. Bhattacharjee, how do we make use of these emerging and disruptive technologies?
Yeah, I think, as we said, the academic institutions and the industry have to be really well glued in. But what I would think that, how do you attract the industry to come and look at these avenues? How do you get the industry to pay a good price and lift those and then take it to the consumer? There isn't, as I mentioned about the DRDO part, I don't think, there has been some, DRDO does so many things around the medicines also. Now, how many of these medicines have you actually seen in the market? These are relatively easier compared to the tech stuff. Now, I have worked for a very large American defense company, and I have seen how in the US, the DoD trusts the private sector, gives a certain amount of money on R&D, has money every year to fund it and bring it to a stage where that technology liftoff happens. Can we build up a trusted system or trusted ecosystem in this country like this? Now, I'm sure there is a severe need to look at this, because I feel that there has been a trust deficit always. We never looked at a way where we can decide on the papers that this is our expectation and outcome of this amount of investment. We keep on interfering a lot. We try to dictate and don't allow someone to actually build up something and or take a call when the time comes. We have few programs in the MOD right now under the make model, which is not taking off because we decide on something, yet we can't culminate them into projects or prototypes moving forward. So I think Dr. Mohan's focus and team has really to look into these things which afflict the Indian system when it comes to implementation. However, as I said, the talent pool in this country is not less. How do you channelize them? How do you make them effective? How do you build that trust factor? And how do you get the optimal out of anybody? I think that is more important. Implementation is very, very important because, in a span of 5 years, you have to achieve something and you are still at the drawing board. So there is, and technology will always change, it changes faster than you can even think.
Right. So let's take that to Dr. Mohan himself. Dr. Mohan, Mr. Bhattacharjee is pointing out, how do we ensure effective implementation of this mission?
Yeah, that's a great question, though we are pondering. So we have some elementary, details available as of now. See, as I told earlier, these 25 hubs, what we are planning is to be established in the academic institutes, number one. And number two is, these hubs are going to be opened as a Section 8 company, not for profit, but it's an independent entities. Now, each Section 8 company will also have technology business incubator, private industry participation, academic participation also. Now, who will define the problems for them? The government. Therefore, the governmental issues will be taken up as the initial technology development projects funded by the mission, developed by the academic and industry collaboratively right from the beginning. That is the type of model we are looking at it. So those technology will have a lot of potential in the both private and as well as other countries also. So these are the generalized model we are looking at it. And the enough delegation of powers, and as well as I was mentioning about the independence to the hubs, already it is inbuilt in the mission. Therefore, the basic and fundamental issues were foreseen and try to adjust as right from the beginning itself. So we are expecting another 6 months, we'll have full clarity on the entire ecosystem that we are planning to create. And then we analyze the existing models and the drawbacks and the advantages also. So therefore, we picked up each and every the pointer from that and created we're planning to create this particular ecosystem, and we are confident and we'll be able to roll out this mission effectively and for positively. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Right, so the beginning has been made. I have last 30 seconds and I'll come to Mr. Sharma. There's another very important component of entrepreneurship. How will this mission foster entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem in the cyberspace?
Well, I think it's the zeal of entrepreneurs, as it's known in the space, that if you comparatively, if you look at, I'm sorry to bring in the case of China and US in this case, entrepreneurs spend their entire lifetime on experimenting with products, with experimenting with services. They keep on enhancing, they keep on moving up the value chain. But that zeal, unless until that zeal comes into Indian entrepreneurs, and that kind of, I would say, facilities which government could provide, that kind of access to technology, access to global technology supply chains, if we could afford in India, then I think nothing is unachievable for Indian entrepreneurs, I would say, in this space. And it really means a lot because the global competition is catching up. We cannot afford to lag behind, and this is the right time, I think. It has come at the right if it's delayed, no doubt it is delayed, but it has come at the right time and in the right leadership, I would say, to take it forward over the next 5 years.
So we need to be competitive. That is the key. So thank you so much for joining us on this discussions. This mission is expected to foster economic growth in the country. That's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.